talk about tonight. I'm here to talk about the iPhone X.
10.
X. So, so we got this. That works. Anyway, that was pretty good sound. So we got that. And just quickly, it is the X, not 10. And here is why. Matt, stop heckling me for a minute. It makes more sense to me than releasing the 8 and then Apple going like, here's the 8, here's the new iPhone, here's the one you've all been waiting for, and 2 minutes later, like, that was the peasant's iPhone, here's the rich people one. And if you buy the 8, it's old, here's the new one, you lasted 2 minutes, congratulations, you're already behind the times. And as of November the 3rd, this is what I found interesting, like,
Hey,
2000.
It comes out on the right day.
It comes out on the right day, we're all going to be getting it at the same time.
When it's my birthday.
Because you're 3x years old. Nobody knows how old you are. Anyway, so there's going to be like 2,000 models of the iPhone on sale all at the same time. So nobody's going to know which version to get. So it remains to be seen like how many Apple are going to sell. I know they're going to get one from me because I really want the X. Brings me to my next question. Who's getting the X?
10.
Can I get a show of hands? Yeah, there's a few. Who's going to go for the traditional model with the old-fangled home button, the 8? Show of hands again. Maybe.
I don't need 2 more.
You can feel confident. I might have slagged on it, but if you want to say, I like the home button, that's beautiful, I want the 8, then...
If you want a pink one, you've got to get the 8.
Yeah, if you want a pink one, if you just want a silver or a black one, then you...
Can I get one in purple?
No. Well, you can go through Colorware. They still exist. They still exist. That's the only way you can get a red with a black front. Sorry, that was a question there?
Purple leather case.
There is a purple leather case. Just like I have my jet black with a red case because I wanted a black front with a red back. Only way I could do it. But now it's onto the fun stuff. Safe area guides. That thing from DubDub that everyone was just like, no, you have to use them now. So suck it. But if you haven't got the resources to adopt iOS 11 and Xcode 9 like now, I know we don't. Like the designer is like, do it! And I'm like, no. Because it's going to be like a 5,000 man job over like 7 weeks to update everything straight to Swift 4. So we've got to listen to the top layout guide and the bottom layout guide, which we don't. So fully transparent navigation bars will be harder now. Yeah, iFlix. We use transparent navigation bars everywhere at the behest of the designer. So when I read that, I'm just like, now I can get rid of them. And he doesn't like that, and he's trying to convince me to find a way around it. And I'm like, you haven't worked with Apple for very long, have you? Anyway, so there's a long way to go with them. I was playing around with them today, and I rage unticked the use safe area guides checkbox twice. Actually, just before it was my 3rd time, because I had a full screen view that took up the whole screen of the X, including the notch. And I was like, okay, I want to put some buttons on the bottom and on the top. And just like the original auto layout, when you would go, you'd drag a UI button onto the canvas, it would just be sort of just positioned forcefully in the corner, and no matter what you did, it was like unpositionable, it was confusing, it was blur, but now they sort of just go, okay, you do what you want with it, which is what we want. It moved my canvas from taking up the full screen to the top, to the left-hand side, and then I moved something and it was in the top corner. It was like using Microsoft Word and moving an image a millimeter to the left, and all of a sudden there are like 13 new pages, sirens ringing in the distance, and like...
You weren't trying to introduce some more buttons to the navigation bar, were you?
As a matter of fact, I was. Like, so it was very stubborn, and I feel like it was very, very half-baked. And while I respect very highly everyone that works at Apple and the stuff they do each year, it's like, come on guys, this feels rushed. Just looking at the software, I'm like, no, this is like you've been still sitting in a boardroom 2 weeks ago trying to figure out how the fuck this is going to work, if you'll excuse my French jet. I know that's not French. Anyway, but on a positive note...
We say it sometimes in French.
But a good thing is we get true 3 times now. So the resolution of the X is 375 by 812, and then multiplied by 3, it's no longer 1080p with 3 times downscaled, which means everything is going to be nice. But next thing that I want to rant about is the damn notch. I'm just going to say fuck the notch. Like that was my initial reaction. I'm just like, no, I don't like it. It's awful. Oh, no, I'm going to black it out. But I've actually I quite like it. I was forcing myself to use the simulator and I'm like, okay, it has its uses. If you have a full screen app, like a web browser, the notch makes perfect sense. But if you're going to immerse someone in a game or something that's like you want people just to focus on that and nothing that's going on in the top corner, you can't even interact with it anyway, so just black it out. And Apple are like, don't do that, it's awful. At least the status bar doesn't fully change color anymore. Like the clock will go green, red, or blue. The clock only if you're in a call, recording, or using navigation. So that's your indicator now. It's not just the full top bar, which is going to be nicer. But I have 145 points of extra height because the 7 and 8 is 375 by 667. We've got 145 extra height. We miss out on 128 points of that. So what's the point, you ask? And Apple like, don't use my cursor and use real estate. And there's a nearly 200 point high navigation bar here, which admittedly does collapse, but still, my point stands. So here's some graphs, I say graphs badly, images of the safe area. You've got the home gesture, which is apparently, that's the cool new thing. It's the thing that you swipe up. It's just so easy, according to whoever it was doing the demo. Is it Craig Federighi that was doing that demo? After Face ID balked? Yeah. Apparently the employee that set that phone up got fired because he tried to unlock it twice and locked Face ID out and then gets up and does his demo and it's just like, oh shit, that's not working. Let's go to the backup phone. It's because somebody...
I don't think he would have been fired.
No, apparently he was. That's going around Twitter. I was like, really? For real?
Believe everything going around Twitter.
Of course, that's how we knew the iPhone X was coming out 4 days before it actually did.
It's probably the same employee that leaked the GM.
It's probably the same employee that did.
He or she knew they were going anyway.
Yeah, and he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to mess with him one last time. I need to make Hair Force 1's hair move. And I've annotated this graphic. There's area should always be black. I'm not sorry about that. And I wrote this before I used the simulator and I was raging and I'm like, okay, no, it's actually kind of cool. So I already did that. I'm like, I have to put it in the presentation now.
You changed your opinion since about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
I know. I was like really anti. Then I used the simulator and I'm like, okay, yes. And I hacked brutally the project at iFlix. I just opened it up and just went, just literally threw shit at the wall and see what would stuck. And I made it run. And I'm like, okay, this is actually quite nice. Not with the navigation bar. So I'm going to make this app with the black edges. But for a full screen photo.
So, when I showed that app to the Apple designers, they were like, yeah, just hide the navigation and whatever, and just make it disappear. And that was during DubDub.
Yeah.
It's like, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yep.
Now that this comes out, it actually fully makes sense.
It does. So there were a lot of tips, a lot of hints coming around, especially in DubDub, like with the safe area guides, people going, you need to use them, guys, you need to use them. They're new, we've rebranded the top layout guides and the bottom layout guides. There's a side one now, so we've had to change them to safe areas. So, and then landscape, well, I'm debating that next, but apparently my slides are out of order, boo. But yeah, why do I hate it so much, but also love it? Aesthetics, bro. It all depends on your app. So if you have a certain aesthetic you're trying to go for, like you're going to go for the bro aesthetic from the gym, then black it out. If you're not, then embrace it. But since we can't interact with anything, I talked about that before. But I just feel like it won't work that well for certain uses. It's like React Native. It has a religious following, but it has its uses and it has its don't you dare moments. And I feel like everyone's going, nah. And people will be like, okay, yeah, I'll adopt it now. And it's like when Apple forcibly made the status bar part of your app in like iOS 6 or 7. People were like, nah, I'm going to move my UI down and block it out again because that's what I'm used to. Then now every app just whatever. I'm just going to go under the status bar and change the color. After all, it's black and white. You've got really not much choice. So, and here's a landscape version. There are so many problems with this and that. I don't like landscape mode. That feels rushed, it feels ugly, and if you've seen the Messages app, it looks even more weird with the bottom app bar, the compose field, and everything else, and the keyboard, it's, no. And what the hell is going on with table views? Like, there's like a checkbox you have to do on the content view, so it's gonna mean designing your own custom table view cells are terrible. It's gonna be really hard, but hopefully it's just a checkbox in IB, and hopefully that doesn't crash or fail rendering.
You say hopefully.
Hopefully.
Optimism.
I have this much optimism, which is good for me because in case any of you know who I am, I'm generally very pessimistic during my talks. I'm like, no, it's not going to work. Xcode's going to crash. I'm not doing a live demo. No, I'm not that brave. I actually have some optimism, and things are looking up, you know, but I still want that. Really shit Photoshop job. I literally, like, it's not even Photoshop, it's Preview. And I annotated the screenshot with black bars, and I manually drew the corner edges.
I reckon that looks worse.
You reckon that looks worse?
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
I'm glad
But,
the phone doesn't have bezel like that. I'm glad
yeah, no, like,
It's a flashback to the iPhone 3 days.
yeah, like, it's like, it is a flashback to the iPhone 3 days. Yeah. 3G, 3GS.
Sorry. It is 3G.
Well, technically it's the iPhone 2 if you want to split hairs.
No,
So,
it is the 3G. It was based on this network technology.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, size classes are weird now. I noticed that the iPhone X in landscape is compact width. I was extremely confused by that, and I can only imagine that when the X Plus comes out, 10 Plus does not make sense. It's probably still going to be compact width. So I was really confused by that, and again, I'm ranting about why can't we use 128 point of the extra size in the display. It's even less in landscape because you've got that bottom thing now, so you don't even get the full width anymore. Yeah, Plus is regular width, but with these insets that were forcibly to obeyed by Apple. If we go back to the screenshot, vertical, blah, 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 this space at the top, the status bar is now 44 point in height, which I think is better than having a full bar being 22 or 20. Like, quick, search your code for any hard-coded values of 20, 44, 64, whatever, because now you're going to have to be listening to like 44 and it's not invisible. The bottom is also 44, so an Apple's recommendation, if we go back to the slide that I was going up to, I didn't put it in here, I don't think. I'm not going to flick through and find it. But Apple's recommendation is if you've got something that's 20 points from the top, like in vertical mode, and you've got, so it's like 20 points from the top, so it's 64 on the y-axis, then you're going to have the bottom, you've got to have the bottom space of the bottom object being 64 from the bottom. So you lose a lot of space. They're like, everything's got to be perfectly centered in this display for it to look good. That's what the notch sucks. Anyway, so yeah, edge protection, that was pretty cool. You got to swipe up twice to close your app instead of just hitting the home button once. And that is, yeah, I had to like sit there and just like really stare at that for a minute. I was like, that's gonna suck, because if you have like a game or something that just runs full screen, it's already like 2 awkward flicks up to open Control Center. If your app has a scroll view, it kind of sucks. So trying to close your app, that's going to be a little bit annoying, but also great for capturing and like metrics and analytics that like product owners really want. They'll be like, we want this conversion funnel. Now you've got it. People can't get out of the app once they open it. So they should be happy. Oh, and here, I did it anyway. Oh well. I just said all that, so you can either read it or I can just skip it. Anyway, I'm not going to complain anymore because I think I'm losing my voice. I've had too many beers and I know you're all sick of me talking. So if you did like what I said, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Top Layout Guide now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I was searching through it. Like I was like,
That's so good.
yeah, and yeah,
At 2x or something.
yeah. I should have done like at 2x or at 3x, but that was all taken. I'm like, damn. So thank you, arigato, and sese. If you speak any of those languages, then yay. Anyway, that's me done, and I think it's time for Jesse to wrap up. So.